Like, how is it gone? So, today we're going to be doing something different. I'm going to be joined by LiquidDrone and DanQR. These guys are just insane at the game, and I want to say a big thank you to these guys for joining in and helping me out with this video. Basically wanted to get them in and talk about Nightmare Survival. And this first episode we'll be talking about gear. I recorded this and wanted to do a big one big video, but we ended up talking for about 45 minutes, so I'm just going to do it into one video, so that's why I'm recording this intro separately. I'll try leave some little footnotes in the description so you can kind of skip to the different parts that we're talking about if you don't want to listen to the whole thing and you just kind of want to go to a specific part. Then I'll leave that in the description. But yeah, massive thank you to Liquid and DanQ for joining me on this. I can't thank them enough. These guys are just mentally good at the game, so it's an absolute pleasure to have them in and giving some tips and talking about their builds, talking about what gear they're using and why they're using it and the different perk points and techniques, and it's just really informative. And I learned a lot from these guys, and I just want to just say a big thank you to them, and let's jump straight into the video. Oh, and this is kind of strictly about Nightmare Survival, so we're not talking story runs, we're not talking about having fun and kind of just playing for the crack. We're talking about, top leaderboard runs and that really kind of high level competitive play and why we're using these kind of things and doing what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, just keep that in mind when you're listening to these tips and tricks, because a lot of it is focused on, those kind of speed runs and pushing for those huge scores. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. Alright, there we go. So let's get straight into gear. I'm just going to show a little thing of my build right now so people can see kind of what I'm running, and then we'll talk about your builds. Yeah, sure. There we go. So let's just start. I think obviously you guys are running different builds. I know DanQ is running like a sticky bomb build and Liquid is running like a spirit kunai build. So it's two very different builds, but let's start with DanQ. Let's talk about your build and what you're doing and what you've got on.
Yeah, sure, let's do it. So what I'm right now running is 10% only damage on the katana with a perfect parry. I guess we'll come to that in a second. And then Way of the Flame to just maximize the melee damage if you just need to use your katana. Basically, Way of the Flame maximize it, because I have also on my Forbidden Medicine status effect damage, which equals basically fire damage. And then I'm running a Stealth Charm with status effect damage one more time, the Fire Master, which adds up to more or less, I think, 61% damage on fire that I have, and then the damage increase. I guess the first question is, why the Stealth Charm? Well, the Stealth Charm gives you the opportunity to mix up the damage increase with status effect damage and Fire Master. And the damage increase, I'm just digging it because your bombs are kind of affected because they are basically any kind of ghost weapon. So I have damage increase on my Stealth Charm, and additionally on my Sticky Bomb I'm running also 19.8% damage increase. So if you mix it up with the technique of the Ronin, I'm right now close to 90% damage increase. And this damage increase affects on the one hand the bombs, but also on the other side the Sticky Bomb itself. I think, so for me the Black Powder Bomb, I guess as for every Ronin, is key. With the 90% damage increase, they're just powerful as hell, and on top all the kind of fire damage that I have over the status effect damage itself is also applying for the bombs. And if you do your ulti, fire ulti, probably the first guy is saying you don't have ulti damage on your build. The status effect damage also applies on the ulti damage because it's just fire, so that's why I'm kind of changing my ulti damage for the status effect damage, as the status effect damage is also applying on the Black Powder Bomb. And then the Sticky Bomb itself, go ahead.
Carry on. No, sorry, carry on, carry on.
And the Sticky Bomb, so I was running the increased radius 50% as a perk. With my bombs, it was in the end 75% of the sticky. So the idea is smoke bomb, do your ulti, do a sticky, you basically hit the whole wave, you have immediately your ulti back, and then you just get rid of everybody else with the black powder and the bombs. But now for this week, because in Blood on Snow you're never alone as a Ronin, at least what I experienced, so I'm running Lucky just to be able to use it always on the big Onis that survive. They go staggered, I can use Way of the Flame and get rid of them if somebody survives. of course, smoke bomb, ammunition. I think we do not need to talk about that.
Yeah, I think smoke bomb is just key on every build. So your katana is, I'm assuming it's a water katana.
Yes, you're right. Missed that one out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the other stances just to me just seem pointless compared to water. I mean, it just seems to be effective against everything. Have you ever tried using a different one, or is it just that's the one basically?
For me, it's that's the one because you have the increased staggered damage when you go for the triangle combo, right? And then with Way of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Flame is the quickest combo to just deal damage. I've seen people also running partly Moon because if you go for this kind of spinning strike with the Way of the Flame, you're hitting a lot of dudes. But I think if you're going for the speed runs, you're usually just focusing on one big Oni that survived. And then I feel that with Water Katana is the easiest to go. That's my experience.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
couple questions about this smoke. Sorry, not the smoke bomb. The sticky bomb. Is the increased radius affecting the bomb pack, or is it just literally for the sticky bomb?
So the 50% as the third perk is only for the sticky bomb itself.
Okay.
And I think it can be useful on other maps. When we were running 3 Ronins and 1 Hunter, I had to do some points by myself. And then I felt that if you have the 50% from the sticky bomb as a perk and the 25% from my bomb pack, you have 75 on the sticky bomb itself. And then you can hit the whole wave if you use your smoke bomb correctly. So the idea is after the ulti and the sticky, nobody should survive besides the big Onis anymore. So
So
that's why,
the blast radius from your bomb pack's actually affecting the sticky bomb as well.
yes,
I didn't know that. You see,
yeah. I
that's
was
pretty
thinking
interesting.
about even kind of exchanging the cooldown reduction on the sticky bomb with also the blast radius, because then you can achieve 100% on the sticky bomb, but it makes no sense because you're really missing it out on the next wave if you're really going for speed runs. Because I was thinking of, well, I need my smoke bomb, it's 120 seconds, then you have the 4 seconds cooldown reduction on kill, the sticky bomb is only 90, maybe you have it back, maybe not, but it's too risky for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. Liquid, do you want to jump in on your build?
Yeah, sure. So, I run, of course, a Water Katana with melee damage and Oni damage, 10% and Way of the Flame. So I run melee damage because on the first lot of the bonuses there is not much else that you can choose from. If we're talking about, speed running and climb attack for number survival. So we have melee damage, melee resolve gain, staggered damage, perfect pair window, counter damage. Apart from melee damage, you could go melee resolve gain if you really wanted, but as a Ronin, especially in Hammer Survival, you don't use your katana very often if you're doing things right. So I would say if I ever need to use my katana, I would like to have melee damage and
Yeah.
Oni damage, which Oni damage of course applies to your katana, but to everything else as well. So Oni damage is very, let's say, universal, as in Hammer Survival all enemies are Onis, apart rare cases.
Yeah.
Then I got the bomb pack, just an avid bomb pack, just a classic blast radius and status effect damage with black powder bomb. And then I have just yesterday changed my utility charm to a stealth charm, and it's exactly as Danku's one. So I have damage increase, status effect damage, and Fire Master. And I need to get good rolls on it because now like the numbers are very low at the moment. I'm broke on honor, so I need to get it better. But I tried it and it's a bit better than what I had before. I would definitely recommend having a stealth charm with these three. No questions. That's really the way to go. Bombs are key to Ronin. I mean, Ronin is just bombs, I would say. There's effect, of course, for your ultimate, as Danku said already, so I'm not gonna digress too much into that. And
Yeah.
the difference between our builds is that I run a Spirit Kunai. And So the Spirit Kunai is, I mean, we could do like 20 minutes video on this, but I'll try to be very quick. So what the Spirit Kunai does, you get, every time you get a kill with one Kunai, you get 15 seconds cooldown reduction on kill for every of your abilities. So your healing, your Way of the Flame, your smoke bombs, and your Kunai as well. So if you happen to get 2 kills with Spirit Kunai, you get another Spirit Kunai back, and possibly your smoke bomb back up again, and Way of the Flame. It's very, let's say, tool and ghost weapon centric. I would say it's very, like, there is a big payback for having a Spirit Kunai. So I run damage increase and cooldown reduction on kill, and supermassive. Supermassive, extra damage, and damage increase again is for all the ghost weapons. So in total I have around 40% damage increase on the ghost weapons, and the cooldown reduction on kill 4 seconds makes it even easier to get, you know, your smoke bomb faster, Way of the Flame, and all of that. And then it's such a good tool because it has great tracking. If you jump and throw your kunai, it can actually hit enemies that are behind you, so enemies that you don't see. I very often find myself just jumping and throwing it because I know there is someone somewhere. For example, a ghost that I cannot see. I just throw it, and straight away I know where he is. I know where he is. I deal a lot of damage because the Spirit Kunai itself is a very damaging ghost weapon in general, especially for a Ronin, because you have the 50% damage increase on the ghost weapons. So I wouldn't swap the Spirit Kunai ever, unless some genius comes up with a new great Ronin build. I don't see myself changing that in the near future. And then, of course, smoke bomb with cooldown reduction on kill and munitions. It's a must.
Yeah, I mean, I think neither of you mentioned the smoke bomb until now. I mean, it's just kind of obvious to us that I mean, let's just talk about the smoke bomb for a second. Why is the smoke bomb so important? I mean, I can kind of answer it myself, but one of you wants to take it away, then go for it.
Danko, go ahead.
When I think about smoke bomb and explaining it, I always think back to when we first played together Liquid. It was Areeeeeet Village, I guess now 7 or 8 weeks ago. So the smoke bomb itself, of course, for Ronin gives you with ammunitions the bombs that you need, right? If you run out of bomb, that's the worst thing that you can do as a Ronin, or that you can kind of experience. And then the second thing is it just stops the wave from running to the point, right? There is just this one way to control the whole wave and hold them back, and it's the smoke bomb, right? I think.
Yeah.
And also the Havachas as well doesn't target you. Is that what they're called? Havachas? Fire arrows? I just call them fire arrows. You know, the arrows from the sky, basically.
Yeah, I also call them Havachas.
What were you going to say there, Liquid?
No, I was saying that I remember the game that Danko mentioned. We were at Aoi Village and we played for the first time, and I remember we were trying to explain the utility of the smoke bomb and why it took actually so much time for, to find a team in general, at least for me, is because no one before had a really clear idea on why you would run always a smoke bomb on any class in Hammer Survival for competitive play. And it's just, I mean, for people that already know, it's very obvious because they know already what to do, they know what it does, but smoke bomb gives you so many advantages. I mean, all of them Danko already mentioned, but it's really a safe space wherever you want, and it's a great crowd control tool. Because they just stop around you. They don't go towards the point. You will lose a lot of time chasing for them. It can stop archers in their tracks. It can stop anyone really. So I would say it's the single most important tool in any build. You don't need anything else. If you have a smoke bomb, you can do you can play competitive Nightmare Survival, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just how it goes. I think I mean, it's obviously, there's some perks on there. I mean, the stealth ones are just pretty much useless for a Ronin. But in terms of your Kunai and your sticky bomb, and we both running cooldown reduction on kill, like, is this just literally a must? For me personally, when I play I run Spirit Kunai Ronin, and even if I don't get a kill with the Kunai, you know, if I've got 3 or 4 kills just from my bomb packs on the weaker enemies, whatever, you know, that's already sort of 16 seconds or something back. It's already halfway there. And for the sticky bomb, do you find the same thing, Danku? I mean, is it just like you were saying? I mean, are you just worried about if it's a big wave coming up? Is it a necessary, like, it's a must to have that sticky bomb back, so you've got to have that cooldown reduction, or is it possible trying something else?
Yeah, I think the major difference between sticky and kunai, first of all, I think if you master the kunai, and everybody who's listening and wants to start playing Ronin, try immediately with the kunai. The spirit kunai, as Liquid said, I think is the most powerful tool if used properly, because in the end, the speedrun is all about damage. You just get who does most damage in a second wins, basically, and has the quickest time. And I think the kunai, if used perfectly and mastered, this is the way to go. The sticky, I think you just change completely your playstyle. The sticky I just use for the big Onis in the end. Basically, somebody survives, I use the sticky because he immediately goes into the staggered mode, and then when it explodes, he is again staggered. That's why I'm also running not the extra resolve point, but the staggered damage, because if you then approach him with Way of the Flame, no Oni survives even 2 times the Water Katana stance run. You know what I mean? This 3 times triangle.
Yeah, the Surgeon Strikes, I think it's called.
Exactly. And the whole idea is that you have your sticky for sure bag for the next wave. And if I'm really lucky, because I'm running lucky, I'm having 2 immediately, and then it's basically anyway game against the Oni because he is down immediately. So it's more, I don't use it, I use more the bombs in the smoke, I use my ulti, and then if somebody survives, I go for a sticky. And I think the playstyle with the kunai is different. And I also say the kunai does, if used properly, more damage. I just want to add there quickly, the idea why I was running sticky in the first place was because if you gather them all together, the amount of damage you can deal with one sticky to the whole wave is huge. And that's more coming from me from the part where I was running alone 1 point, but now that everybody changed to 2 Hunter, 2 Ronins, that's not that relevant anymore.
Yes, I agree with what Danko is saying, because I've ran Sticky Bomb for a long time actually. And also in Nightmare Survival competitive, for a time I didn't like the Spirit Kunai, I preferred Forbidden Medicine. And that's true, like the Sticky Bomb, if used correctly, it's very powerful because it does a lot of damage. And especially in those groups, in those crowds of Onis that spawn, you have a big advantage there with the Sticky over a Kunai, of course. It's just a matter of, I think, management of your tools and your time and your damage. I think if your build makes sense and if you have a team that requires, let's say, different, everyone has different requirements at the end. It depends on the map, depends on the modifier, depends on all of things. I think ultimately you should play with what you're most comfortable with. The Spirit Kunai is a big game changer, but it's not that big that you're not gonna get 1 minute off if you don't use a Spirit Kunai. Do you know what I mean? You can still get very good results, but if you're not comfortable using something, you shouldn't, or you should try it first. I think that's why we have different builds, and that's why I think that's very good, because something works for someone and which doesn't for the other. So I think it makes perfect sense.
I think more important to add there is the damage increase itself, right? With the 50% of the technique and then the 40% you're able to achieve with your gear, what helps a lot with the supermassive of the kunai to just do such a high amount of damage. But the same applies to the sticky bomb. That's why, as Liquid outlined, the stealth charm is such a game changer for the Ronin, or basically the core charm, I think, to run there. And then I don't know, Liquid, how you think. I think Maui and you are both great Spirit Kunai users. Are feeling very comfortable if there is one Ronin with a sticky and one with the Kunai, can also be a deadly combination.
Yeah, for sure. Maui and I, we both run Spirit Kunai, and yeah, it it it's actually it works even better for us because I mean, this is another topic. This is not about our gear, but just very quickly, it's because we are always together while we play. We do the
Yeah.
waves together, so we wouldn't need a sticky bomb because there is always someone with the bombs, with black powder or concussion bombs. That's why.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, is there any other charms? I mean, obviously at the minute we're all running kind of stealth charm with this damage increase and status effect, but is there anything else that is kind of, like useful? I mean, I used to run an ultimate damage, fire master on a utility charm. There's also,
Yes, yes.
ultimate damage, Oni damage and fire master. I mean, they're both
I had,
optional.
I had the first one you mentioned. I had a utility charm until yesterday.
Yeah.
Utility charm with ultimate damage and fire damage and fire master. Ultimate damage can give you 2% extra damage on your ult rather than status effect, but I would say that status effect is better because it affects everything, so your bombs as well, not just your ultimate. So
Way of the Flame as well.
yeah, we have the flame. So yeah, I
I
think
mean,
it's
yeah,
it's
carry on,
it's
sorry.
it's very hard to find a charm that works better than a stealth charm for a Ronin at the moment, unless you want to go for a very interesting choice, which is Angel's Remorse, and I'm gonna start playing around with that in the future, I think.
Yes. I mean, Enjo's most, so obviously the legendary perk is 15% bonus damage when at full health. I have actually
Yeah,
tested this out quite a bit. I've got a roll with ultimate damage, fire damage, and fire master on it.
yeah,
The only problem I found is, I mean, it's just inevitable in a nightmare survival. You're gonna take some form of damage at some point. I mean,
yes,
on a
exactly.
Ronin, I mean, it's not the end of the world because you have obviously the what's it called, healing incense. So you can just pop that down. But I mean, the thing I've found is we can get onto the techniques in a sec, but like, there's not usually a healing Ronin in games, so you're always using a fire Ronin with the fire breath, and that means that you need to heal the hunters at some point somehow. So it's usually dropping a healing incense on the hunter's point or whoever else is playing. But
Yeah,
I mean, the advantage of having Spirit Kunai then is you get your healing incense back way quicker. So if you were
yeah.
going to run Enjo's Remorse, I mean, yeah, it could work. I just don't know how much
I,
bonus
I,
it's going to
I
give.
actually wanted to try Spirit Kunai and Angel's Remorse. It's just yeah,
That was my next question for you. That was
yeah,
because I
yeah,
was
no, no.
thinking so I was also thinking about it already, and now that you just mentioned Highburn, I wanted to ask you immediately, Liquid. So would you run two legendaries? Because that's the only way I see the two legendaries really could make sense. Because if you run double Oni damage, that's possible in just Remo, right? Yeah, so Oni on your katana, Oni on your
Yes, but
yeah.
I already have two things that would not let me run such build. I mean, I've thought about it a lot of times, trust me. Angel's Remorse, I always look at it and go, oh God, man, if there was a way to make this work. Unfortunately, I don't think there is, especially for a Ronin, and especially in MS Survival, because you, you can, I mean, it's very easy to lose just as tiny slice of health with your own bombs.
Yes.
So you throw a wrong black powder bomb and the bonus is already gone. So it's already a wasted slot. And then if you would run the double legendary, your ultimate would only be for reviving, which is not great.
Yes, because also I guess what I've read often, and I mean you could argue this in a real speed run, but the ultimate damage, people saying, it's not so much what you're doing. Yeah, but you're also implying damage to all the waves of the other people, right, that are close to enemies. So if you
Yeah.
go the second or the third spawn, you will do
Yes.
a lot of damage on the other, and it is just this slight extra damage. It's already enough, right? Maybe this one enemy goes down. Maybe then the arrow of the hunter is enough to kill the enemy. That's why this fire ultimate is so powerful in the end. Because if you sum up all the damage of all the waves, I think it's the most powerful ulti that is out there.
I agree. I totally agree. What is very interesting of the Ronin ultimate, the Fire Ronin, is that even, for example, you should be always with two Ronins or at least a teammate when you do ultimate, because the effect is doubled. Because if you notice, when you do ultimate with Ronin, there is some kind of fire sparkle going up from the ground where you stand, where each one stands. It means that if you are all four together, let's make an example. For example, wave 11s, which are usually the waves in which it's just one from one spawn, everyone's there. If only one Ronin does an ultimate, the damage is not double, it's not quadruple, it's not. It's for. I think it's times. Times
4?
eight. Times
8.
Because if you're two people, of course, it's doubled. If you are four people, yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah, so if yeah, I get what you mean. I didn't know that actually. That's
four
really
times.
interesting.
It's very easy to test. You're gonna see basically if you're already two people, the effect is doubled near the players, and you could see if you're four people, you could see spear, like the purple spear on his health melting totally, just going down so fast because the effect takes place near all the players.
I never knew that. That's really interesting, actually.
And
I
that's why
literally have
it's
just
also very
never knew
useful.
that.
It's also very useful to ultimate when you know that your teammates are dealing with another wave somewhere else. Even if you don't have any enemies near you to deal with, you can ultimate anyways because they will have a double effect on the fire if they're near them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think I have seen that first on the Japanese videos when I was following the streams, right? When an explosive arrow and the ulti of a Ronin kind of hits at the same time, the wave just disappears because of that same factor, basically, right? Because the explosive works the same, right? It sets everybody on fire, then the ulti of the Ronin applies on the hunter and on the Ronin itself, and then it's basically game.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So let's get into technique points then. So if we're talking about the fire breath, so I mean, enhanced ghost weapons increase damage by 50% from all ghost weapons. I think this is just a no-brainer. As you say, I mean, at the minute, like until the only way I could see weakening burst is very, very, very useful. Don't get me wrong, but the only way I could see it working is if it would have to be in union with another Ronin. For example, you'd have to have another Ronin with you. I don't know how to explain it. That's the only way I could kind of see weakening burst making sense. As well,
Yes.
like the double legendary thing. I mean, if you were to go with double legendaries, you could also use weakening burst. So the ultimate from the other Ronin is actually doing 25% more damage, and then you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about that extra damage from your ultimate.
So,
but then you're not affecting the other waves. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know about Danku. Yeah, Danku, go ahead. Sorry.
Mine is quick. I would just veto it and say no.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's. I see your point, but at the same time, the problem is it costs you one resolve point, so the resolve point is gone for your ulti. And I think as we're just having very limited amount of resolve points in this legend mode, I think you don't exchange it, and then you would kind of need both to use it at the same time, as you said. But the 50% of the bombs, you have it all the time anyway. Right, so why kind of exchanging it for the double negative of resolve and then having to have another Ronin next to you? That's my take. Liquid, what do you think?
Just take the last 15 seconds and just copy paste what Danko said.
Fair enough.
I totally agree. I use weakening burst first, while you're just started to play the game and you're trying to understand what the Ronin does. I'm talking about maybe 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago already. I tried it, and actually I really liked it, but you know, I wasn't in this mindset of Nightmare Survival, so I would say it's a total waste. And especially if you have a hunter in your team that already has foul arrows and already can weaken
Yeah.
most of the enemies, it's not useful.
A
Actually, I think
really,
maybe Ronin Unleashed would be a better choice than Weakening Burst, which is the decrease class ability cooldown by 15%.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only way I could see weakening burst being handy, to be fair, is if, well, fingers crossed that they come back and update this game. But they could even do another ultimate where instead of fire or healing, it was actually weaken. So you weaken every single enemy around you.
That
So
would
for
be
all
very
for all
interesting.
waves.
That would be very
As well,
interesting.
the only way I could see weakening burst working as well. I mean, so for example, you're doing 25% more damage. So, but if you get rid of the 50%, so we're only at 25 right now. But if you had the double
Yes.
legendary on, you could also. I mean, once again, you would have to get rid of the smoke bomb. But the only way I could see it kind of working is maybe if you had like caltrops on or something with another damage increase, because then you basically back up to the extra 50% that you would have with the ghost. But I mean, yeah, it's just a. I think for what's going on right now, I think it's just ghost weapon damage all the way. I mean, there's just nothing else that.
There was an interesting tweet put out by Pippo Buppo yesterday, one of the Japanese guys, one of the
Yeah.
Ronins, and they said with Dachi they have a new secret Ronin build that
Ooh.
they're not going to disclose as of now, of course. Hence why they're not streaming these 2 days, the runs. And
Interesting.
I'm actually very curious. I don't know what they changed. Of course, I don't know how much it's changed, but they say it's quite strong. And yeah, maybe no one knows. Of course, you need to have, let's say, knowledge and being willing to try and to fail and try different stuff every time. But in the midst of leaderboard speed running, it's very hard to try new stuff.
Yeah, I think the only questionable perks, yeah, so is the second line, so staggering in position and resolve increase. I mean, also quick regen could be useful in depending on what the modifier is, but I mean, for me, it's always going to be between the first two. I never really tried out the stagger damage until you mentioned that you were using it, Danke. I mean, why is there a reason that you go for that? And earlier you said because the water strikes, just takes one to kind of stagger them. Is that
Yeah.
just extra damage, or you
So
don't need that extra resolve point, or?
that for me it was more of I don't know, maybe it's a little bit defensive, but I'm never using more than one ulti during a wave. So basically, you smoke bomb and then you have a window of throwing bombs and doing your ulti. If you do it maybe too late, you're already being attacked by Navacha, and if everything goes wrong, you go down. Right? So that's why my idea was the sticky brings the enemies to staggered, and I usually use the sticky for the big guys, right? So I have the extra damage that I'm taking from this kind of technique, because Way of the Flame, then the stagger damage, and all the status effect is just melting the enemies down. So that's why I kind of don't see the benefit of the extra resolve point. Instead of, it's all about damage, the extra stagger damage that I just use in
Yeah,
this specific environment.
just a bit more DPS.
Yeah.
Do you run resolve increase or stagger damage liquid?
Yes, I run resolve increase by
Yeah.
one, and yeah, I mean, I think it's really up to preference here. It's not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't say as all the builds, of course, but for competitive, I would say that in this case in particular, whatever you choose doesn't really make that much difference unless you pick quick regen, which of course for a fire running doesn't really work.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, resolve increase is just from my playstyle at least. All the bombs, all the bomb damage, all the extra resolve that you would lose by just having 3 resolve, it's a big deal actually to me. because if you do an ultimate when you have 4 resolve, and then you end up having, of course, just 1 resolve, but that 1 resolve makes you, makes everything quicker, and
Yeah, the next one.
it is very easy to fill 4 resolve meters. So if there was a +1 resolve, I would even go with 5. I mean, I know it's possible with the charms, but it's
Yeah,
not that worth it. But it's very easy to fill 5 resolves with bombs. It's so easy because
yeah,
you're throwing bombs at big spawns, at big groups of enemies every time. So one bomb can get you like 1 resolve and a half without problems.
yeah.
So yeah, extra resolve for me it's very useful. But I can see the appeal of having staggering in position, the stagger damage.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting with the stagger is you mentioned the sticky bomb. So do you reckon that sticky, does the sticky bomb actually affected by this 15%? Because I know when you chuck a sticky and it hits the enemy, they kind of, they wobble about for like, 5 seconds or so. Is this actually increasing that time that they are wobbling about?
Yeah, because
Ah,
they kind of go into the stagger mode the moment you throw it, so it kind of sticks to their body, and then once it explodes, you still have this increased status duration of the sticky itself. So they are staggered for, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds on top. So you have a span of maybe 5. Don't say that it's really 5 or 6 or 7. I don't know. And they are staggered, right? And then in this moment it applies this 50% extra on your katana damage when you go for Way of the Flame.
that's interesting. And then last but not least, I think it's just the question of healing versus fire. I mean, in these really fast
Yeah,
runs, as you say, it's just all about speed. And I mean, it's really helpful to have the healing. And I think you can do fast runs with healing on, but
for sure. Yes, there
does the
have
fire
been.
breath? I mean, the fire breath must, if for example, if I'm over, let's say we're on Blood of the Snow, I'm over at Outpost, you're over at mine, you've finished. If you pop a healing ultimate to heal me, it's not going to make me kill the enemies any quicker. Whereas if you pop a fire breath, that could be the potential. You could save three
Yes,
seconds, five
absolutely,
seconds, which
absolutely, absolutely.
it doesn't sound like much, but when you look at the leaderboard, for example, I mean, there's 2 seconds between first and second place. That 2 seconds could be that healing
Yeah.
ultimate versus fire. So
The a very important thing to understand of why certain builds, let's say, are preferred. I wouldn't say better. I wouldn't say better. Let's
yeah,
say
yeah,
preferred. Is that you don't really need a healing Ronin. We're just talking about logic here. Let's say that if everyone was a god at the game and never went down, which is obviously everyone's goal, everyone is trying not to go down, everyone is trying
yeah,
to stay alive. So that's a good enough reason to take the risk and having more damage because it will pay off in the end. Uh, but actually, it's not the full story, of course, because, for example, last week's Blood in the Snow, 4 weeks ago, that she held the world record at the time, and there were 3 hunters and 1 healing Ronin,
yeah,
and the world record was like 30 minutes 20. Now we are up to 26 minutes. So I mean, there's been some change in the past 4 weeks.
yeah. Some big change.
But anyways, their preferred run was we have a really healing Ronin because hunters need to just keep pushing, just keep killing and killing and killing. We don't really need a fire ultimate, which I disagree with. Now, of course, I disagree with, but I could see why it would be. It's just you're just safe. It's very important also to let all your teammates keep pushing without worrying about not dying. They can
Yeah,
play more aggressive. Everyone is a bit more calm because your life is always full.
yeah,
There are a lot of pros of having a healing Ronin.
definitely.
It's just that you need to think also over 25 waves, so over potentially, let's say, an average of 30 minutes. Let's say 30 minutes. You know, it's a lot of enemies, a lot of damage, even for one fire Ronin. And let's say he pops 20 ultimates, which is okay, I would say. And do you know how much damage those 20 ultimates would have dealt in over the span of 30 minutes? It's a lot of damage. So
Yeah, it's a lot of damage when you put it like that.
Also, I think, and that you hear basically when you then play with people that are just starting also to go into speed running or into survival. Okay, we need a healer, and that was the whole idea in the beginning, right? Because he needs to keep up the group. In
yeah,
the end, I think it's all about not dying at all, even without a healer, Ronin. Because the moment you die, you do less damage. So basically, I don't know
Yeah.
how it is with your best runs, Liquid, but usually I have seen we had a good run when we had maybe 2, 3, or 4 downs for the whole group maximum. And
yeah.
independently from having a healer Ronin, right? It's just kind of being quick in the smoke bomb, dealing more damage in the smoke bomb so that you do not even need to care about the Avachas to die.
Yes, I totally agree. And if it comes down at some point, it comes down also to experience, and hence why, again, smoke bomb is so important, is that it's really hard if you know what you're doing. It's really hard to go down for, because of an Oni, for example. It's very hard to go down because of a Watchas if you're in the smoke bomb. So if you manage the game properly, it, we found out it's actually hard. I mean, I go down all the time. I mean, I'm aware we go down all the time, but you realize that you're not going down because the Onis are killing you or because the Watchers are there in the wrong time. So if you play it quite safe, the last run we ended up with 0 deaths, the 2 Ronins. For I think for the past 2 games, I think we ended up 1 death, and now we got like 0 downs. So it is very possible to keep going if you have like correct movement and do have a proper use of the smoke bomb.
Can I
Yeah.
probably also add there a small thing, Highburn?
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned it before, but the build with the sticky bomb, of course, has the forbidden medicine. And I think if
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody starts playing their own, and this simplifies your life because you're just healing yourself the whole time while throwing bombs. And I don't know, but as said, right, the Spirit Kunai for me also is the way to go. Everybody should train it immediately. But when I'm also sometimes commenting on Reddit, because I like to be active over there, so for me the Forbidden Medicine is still the most versatile tool because you can stun the enemy with a bomb while gaining back heal and then immediately work with your katana if you still need to use it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
people don't want to go down, the Forbidden Medicine is the easy way. As always, you have less damage output as for the kunai maybe, if you're not mastering it, but as you're not going down, your damage is again a little bit higher, you know what I mean? So that's why for me, as a Forbidden Medicine Ronin, my goal is always 0 downs, in every run. Because if you, with the Forbidden Medicine, still go down, then you did something very wrong.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, I reckon let's come to a conclusion. There's just one more question I wanted to ask, and I've just remembered it now. Is, for example, on the water katana, we're all running Oni damage, and a lot of people have said, like it's okay, it's 10% extra damage. Why would you choose 10% extra damage when you can have 20% extra damage from your ultimate? Like, is the ultimate damage not stacking more when you do that anyway against Onis? Or is it just purely because the Oni damage is spread across everything? So water katana, Way of the Flame, bomb pack,
I
sticky
think
bomb, spirit kunai.
I think Danku can answer the question if, yeah, for example, does Oni damage apply to your ultimate? Danku.
So I don't know 100% on the ulti damage itself. I think it does, but the problem is, so I, maybe that's why you're saying also Liquid. I went into Nightmare a lot of times alone, doing a lot of screenshots with all the different builds, trying to figure out what is the best way forward. And I think, as also Liquid mentioned it, besides the Spirit Kunai, you are dealing probably the most damage with your bombs. That's why we're all running 90% damage increase. And the only damage stacks also on this 90% again. Does it really be only 10% or is the multiplier slightly different? I can't tell that because it's very hard to do the screenshots and really go one by one every pixel. But for sure,
Yeah.
the only damage applies on the bombs and on the Spirit Kunai. and those are the two that you're interested, because the fire
Yes.
ulti melts down the small guys anyway, right? The problem of every wave are the big dudes, and those are Onis. As I think Liquid, you mentioned once already during this video, that is the moment you need to do your damage. That's why the Oni damage is so powerful.
Yes, I definitely agree. Only damage applies to everything. I mean, I don't know about the ultimate, of course, but as far as I know, only damage applies to everything. So 10% might not be a lot, but it becomes a huge increase over 25 waves. You always need
Yeah.
to think about, over time, over how many onis, over how many,
Yeah, I mean, it's that just kind of what you said before, if you say over 25 waves, you pop 20 ultimates, compared to how many bombs or how many times are you going to katana an Oni. The difference is just massive,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it all. As much as I can think of anyway.
To sum it up, just deal damage quickly.
Yeah, sum it up.
Very quickly.
Kill enemies and do it fast.
Yes.
That is the main point of this conversation. Kill enemies, do it quick, don't die. Job's a good one.
Definitely.
All right, no worries. I'll just do like a little outro thing. All right, so there we go. A bunch of handy points there. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be jumping into another episode where we talk about wave lists and wave spawns and how to deal with the first wave and stuff like that. But yeah, big thanks to Danku and Liquid. These guys are absolute legends, incredible Ronin players. So yeah, we'll carry on doing some of these videos and get some more information. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if we missed anything out. I don't think we did. I think we covered quite a lot, but I probably missed something. But if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I'll ask these guys and I'll try and answer it myself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this was really informative. Thanks for watching.